Yo, what's going on, Kicks Army? I'll be doing a sneaker drawing of the Air Jordan 18 Blue Suede set to release later on this month, as well as giving you guys a bunch of drawing / blending tips. Let's get it! First of all, if you guys enjoy these daily sneaker drawing videos, make sure you hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bounce past the bell to get post notifications. And if you like the stencil that you see on the screen and you want to see over 180 more, you can visit my website KicksArt.com. At the moment, I'm uploading 2 new stencils today. I have a whole bunch on the site. Everything is free, so go ahead and check it out. I know I say this all the time, but guys, I'm telling you, I'm being serious when I say this. I am so excited for the potential for the website. Like, it's gonna get so thick so fast. Also really amazing to me how there was at one point in the beginning of the year when I was uploading daily videos where I said on camera that there's probably no way that I could upload a new stencil every single day. That just wasn't possible. And look at me now. I'm uploading daily videos and I'm uploading 2 new stencils a day. Like, that is nuts. But I think the big reason for that, besides the fact that now I'm more committed to actually put in the work than I was in the beginning of the year, even though I was uploading daily videos in the beginning of the year, is that now I actually have a functional website that's clean and easy to use and that's actually enjoyable to go ahead and visit. Like, guys, even though I made the website, even though I updated daily, I still love going through it to see all the stencils on there and knowing that every day there's more and more added. Like, for me, that's just so cool to see. Maybe I'm a geek about it, I don't know. In case anyone is interested in how I'm able to upload 2 new stencils a day, it's actually pretty easy. For one, it's imperative that I have the stencils that I know I'm going to upload for the following day ready the day before. And I have to look at my emails to see what requests I have, and if I don't have requests, I have to make sure that I go ahead and figure out what stencils I want to have uploaded. From there, I try to have the line work done a day before, so that way the day of I can spend whatever time I have either in the morning or during school or whatever working on the line work with my pen. Then the moment I'm able to complete a stencil and I have everything ready, I can go ahead, I can scan it into my computer at some point during the day, and then from there I can upload it to my templates. Then it goes onto the website and then I post about it on Instagram. Now, that is a pretty decent amount of work to do. That takes at least an hour, maybe like an hour and a half of my day for sure, just working on the stencils. However, through repetition and execution, it just gets easier to deal with as the days go by. And plus, for me, it's really fun to do. I love seeing new stencils added to the website, especially on tabs that didn't have too many stencils before. Like this stencil that you're seeing on the screen, the Air Jordan 18 stencil, that was not on the website before, and now it is. But let's go ahead, let's pivot over to some blending tips, and I'll kind of talk about my process of how I go about doing it. So for today's video, I'm using 2 different colors of Prismacolor for the top blue. It's PM39 and PM40. PM39 being the lighter of the 2 blues and the PM40 being the darker, of course. Now, if I wanted to, I could just take one of the 2 blues and I could use that for the entire upper, but when you have 2 different blues, especially if one is a little bit lighter than the other, it really helps to see a myriad of shades with the blending. So you're going to notice for this drawing how I take the lighter blue, and I know that the lighter blue is going to be on the top of each section because, at least for my drawings, light comes from the top, not from the bottom. On the main sections where it's closer to the top, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put a layer of that lighter blue. You can make that layer as thick as you want. If you want it to go really far down, you can. I know that the deeper blue is going to take up most of the upper, but I just want the top part of those sections to have a little bit of a lighter blue to give some good contrast. Feel free to experiment with that. There is no right or wrong answer, it's just a matter of trying it out. After I have those sections where I know I'm going to have the lighter blue, then I'm going to fill in the rest with 1 layer of the darker blue. I've said this before, especially when we're dealing with markers, because markers are very unforgiving if you accidentally make a mistake, especially if it's with a darker color. You really want to make sure that when you color in your markers, you go in the same direction at all points. And if you're going to slowly change directions, make sure that you slowly change directions. For the most part, it's going to look weird if you kind of go in opposite directions perpendicular to each other, unless you're very good at blending and you're very careful with your strokes. But it's not going to be too likely that you're going to be good at blending if you've never really blended before, especially with these kind of markers. So for starters, make sure that you go ahead and you color in the same direction per section. That's also going to save you a lot of money on ink because you're not wasting a lot of ink going over the same lines in different directions, which makes it look sloppy. But once you have that first layer down and everything is covered up, then is where the blending really begins. You're going to notice with this drawing how I kind of take things a section at a time. So for example, that cover that goes over the tongue and the top of the shoe, that whole area is what I would consider a section. That triangle thing that's on the upper towards the left hand side, that's what I would also consider a section. And then the whole upper itself is what I would consider a section as well. For me, a section is a part of the shoe that is all relatively the same color that is enclosed, which would mean even that thin sock liner is also a section, as well as the tongue. The way I try to look at it, if I know light is coming from the top of the shoe and I know if I want the top of each section to be lighter than the bottom, then each section must have less layers on top and more layers on the bottom. The bottom section you might want to go over maybe 10 to 15 times, whereas the top of each section you might want to go over once or twice. And again, this is much easier to manage if you're using colored pencils, because colored pencils are much more forgiving, since when you first lay down the pencil on the piece of paper, you can lay it down as hard as you want. If you have a red color pencil and if you want a deep red color, all you have to do is press the colored pencil down on the piece of paper pretty hard and you have a deep color. And even from there, you can press it down multiple times on the same spot and you get a deeper red. With marker, the moment you press down that marker on the piece of paper, you already have a pretty deep color depending on the color that you have. And it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to go ahead and take away that color and or mask it somehow if it's too dark. You're going to notice how with a lot of the sections that I'm working on, closer to the part where it really starts to blend, where I'm going from one color to another, you're going to see that I flick my arm in an upward motion. That way, as that particular line gets towards the top of where I want it to be, I'm lifting up from the paper so that way it doesn't end in a deep spot. Almost like when you're writing your name in cursive or something, or if you're writing a letter in pen, you notice when you first put down the pen, there's usually a little spot of color that's pretty deep, and then as you finish off the letter or whatever, it gets pretty faint. It's the same concept here. I kind of call this feathering, and when I'm feathering, you notice that I'm not feathering the lines right next to each other. I give it a little bit of space. That little bit of space already starts to break up the color, so that way it's not too much color going upward, it's selective. When it comes to blending, it's a constant adjustment. You're constantly looking at, okay, where does it need more color and where do I have to really back off? It's not going to be easy at first, and one of the things you can use to practice is my stencils. But for each one of the stencils that I have uploaded on my website, you're going to notice that I have the individual stencil as well as I have 4 of the same stencil on a page. The idea behind that is that if you want to practice on something smaller so that way you're not wasting a lot of ink on a bigger sheet, you can go ahead and do so. So if you want to practice your blending on the Air Jordan 18 faster, you would use the 4 stencils on a page as opposed to the 1. Speaking of practicing, one thing I want to point out that's very important too is the paper in which you are using. Especially if we're dealing with marker, and besides doing the outline work, if you're trying to blend like an actual color within a section, it's going to be very hard to do so if you're using regular printer paper. At the moment, I'm using watercolor paper by Canson. Canson is a great company that makes a bunch of different types of paper. I buy all my paper over at my local Michaels, although there's Hobby Lobby, you can buy some stuff at Walmart, just whatever your local retailer is that sells paper, particularly an art supply store, they should have something there that's good for you. The main thing is that the paper needs to be thicker than regular printer paper, because regular printer paper is very thin. You need paper to have a certain amount of thickness so that way when you're trying to blend and you're putting multiple coats over the same spot, it can actually hold in all that ink. Otherwise, the ink is just going to bleed through immediately and it's going to look very sloppy. With printer paper, once you add more than a few coats, the paper itself starts to deteriorate because it can't handle all that ink that's on there. Now, if you're not using ink, if you're using colored pencil, then this shouldn't be nearly as much of a problem, and it's actually going to be a lot better to go ahead and practice with colored pencil too, because there's not going to be as much room for error. But if you love markers like myself and you want to go ahead and try to practice your blending, make sure you get appropriate paper. Before I was using watercolor paper, I was using mixed media paper, and before that I was using sketch paper. And if you ever want to go to Michaels or Hobby Lobby or one of those bigger retailers to go ahead and buy something, I would strongly suggest that you check online for coupons. To create an account with either one of these 2 bigger companies or other companies, they should send you promotions and stuff through your email. And on top of that, especially with Michaels, because I made an account with them, they'll send me coupons like every month. When I say coupons, usually the coupons will have like 20% off your entire order, and then they'll have 50% off one item, which is really good whenever I want to buy something that's kind of pricey, like I did with the light box. That was very expensive, but I got it for half off. Same thing when I got my art table and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Even though you'll obviously get a lot more offers when you sign up for these accounts, you'll also see that there's coupons available online. And the easiest way to find that, at least for me, is to go on retailmenot.com. You go on retailmenot, you can type in Michaels, Hobby Lobby, or whatever store you want on the top, and they'll pull up all the available coupons for that store. More often than not, one of those 2 bigger retailers is going to have a good coupon available, so make sure that whenever you're going into these stores, you're trying to use a coupon at the same time, because by default, the retail version of these items are pretty expensive. That's why it's always good to use coupons. Especially if the coupon is 50% off, like come on, you can't really do much better than that. One last tip that really helped me out when I first started using markers to color is to outline your section. Reason being is that it can be so frustrating when you have this amazing drawing that you're working on and you accidentally go out of bounds. When I say out of bounds, I mean that you accidentally go outside the line in which you were trying to work within. Nobody wants that to happen. Nobody does that on purpose. Sometimes it can just happen. You'll see in a number of my videos that happens, and it does annoy me, but I don't want to scrap the whole video just because I made a small mistake. An easy way to avoid this is to continually outline whatever section you have first, so that way you have some wiggle room to not mess up. And then you can color within that outline section. Guys, let me know if these tips helped you. If you still have questions and you're still wondering how to do something, by all means, drop whatever comments you have down in the comment section below. I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and bounce past that bell to get post notifications. Don't forget to check out KicksArt.com for all your sneaker stencil needs. Make sure you check out the over 280 videos on the channel. You guys already know that I'm uploading daily sneaker drawing videos, so I will see you guys tomorrow. Yay!